It is that time of the week. It is Monday, and you know what that means, everyone. Time to punch your ticket and hop on board with me, Jasmin St. Clair. Join me and my wonderful guests as we take you into a wild journey on Off the Rails live stream. Hop on in the chat, ask questions, leave comments, or just sit back and watch the madness unfold. We'll be waiting for you. Hi everyone, happy Monday. I first of all want to give Bob of Strange Suspicion a very big thank you and a shout out for the amazing intro and outro he did for the show. You have to follow his socials. So there he is on youtube.com, Strange Suspicion. And if you go on Instagram, it's the same thing, Strange Suspicion. Thank you so much for designing all these really cool graphics. I'm so happy. Hi John, hi Paul, happy Monday everyone. Hi Jamal, what's up Ryan Dempsey? 3173, I can't see that far. All right. Hey Scott, full disclosure. So I slept with the right, okay, let me rephrase this. This morning, my cat decided to sleep on my pillow, which is fine, right? But the right side of my face, which is this side, my right, was on his fur. This is so embarrassing, okay? So it's all puffy and then it's puffy hair, then it's red and itchy. I didn't know what to do. So obviously I got in last minute to see the eye doctor. They pulled a cat hair out of my eye. Then I had to explain to myself, my cat is severely bonded to me, that there's no kind of crazy fuddy-duddy shit going on because everyone knows in this day and age, I mean, you see people tongue kissing their dogs and doing all kinds of things like calling their animals sex pot, shit like that. So I had to explain to the eye doctor that the cat just sleeps next to me. I know that's super embarrassing. Before I bring my guest on, who's probably one of the healthiest people I've met in pro wrestling, who is not currently a wrestler, I would like to go ahead and give a big shout out to a sponsor, supermassiveblackcoffee.com. If you're in the mood to get amped up and pumped up, and, caffeined up, hop on over to supermassiveblackcoffee.com and type in the code MBM, that's Mary Barry Nancy, for 20% off. I guarantee you it would completely kickstart your morning. Yes, that is what happened, John. I know, it's like super embarrassing. I don't know. Anyway, my next guest is someone who just started working for JCW. He used to wrestle years ago, but had some sort of an injury. But it's amazing because this is someone who's one of the healthier people I've met that's in the age range of a lot of people that tune into the show. But before I bring him on, I do want to make sure you guys are subscribing to my socials. Instagram.com, The Real Jasmin St. Clair. Make sure you are subscribing to my YouTube right here. Clicking likes, super likes, and obviously hopping over every Wednesday to Crazy Train Podcast, Crazy with a K, for the audio version of most of the video interviews that you see up here. But yes, so Matt Davis is someone that just joined us at JCW, but prior to that, he has a whole history of modeling, of all things. And it's interesting because you don't meet people in this day and age that are this healthy, especially in this country. You know, you go to Europe and places like that, they don't have this lab-grown Bill Gates shit that we have to deal with here. So anyway, I want to talk about health, wrestling, all that stuff. Let's welcome to the show, Mad Mac Davis.
Wow, got the mad part in there, huh?
Did I? No, was I not supposed to?
No, that's fine. That's what I've gone by my entire career. I've been very careful not to say it too much since I got into JCW. There's so many different Macs there already.
You know, I'm telling you, Paul says hi. No, because if you say that these days, you never know what the reaction is.
Like, look, I don't mind it at all. I like being remembered as Mad Mac Davis. That was my best time in wrestling was under that name. That's really, and you probably maybe a little bit different for you, but for me, as I got into wrestling, having that name and being involved in independent wrestling saved my damn life because I
Really?
really, at that point, I hadn't really found out who I was until I got around other people who understood and were creative like I was. It's like you find this entire new family just and it's a blessing every time it happens, including in JCW.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Most definitely. But I want to go back to your wrestling career. What even got you into wrestling? And by the way, I think actually, were you on fitness magazine covers at one point? I know you did romance novel covers.
Yeah, I did those, but I didn't do any of the muscle stuff. I really tried. It's funny because when I got into modeling, I tried to stay away from a lot of the typical things that you would expect somebody like me to go into. And then it ended up being that I was, then I ended up on romance covers, that kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, still, I didn't mind. It was a job. It was fun. It was a good time in my life. But, it all started from wrestling, really, Jasmine. I just became more comfortable with who I was in my own skin. And I think that's extremely important. And when I found that out, I knew because of being in wrestling, I had to make sure I was always ready no matter what, because you might get a call one day and you got to be able to say yes. You got to take that jump and you got to make sure that you're ready. So you got to look TV ready. You know what that means. We can't give up that body and that style because that's how we make a living. And I also think that it drives me to stay healthy. So, I mean, again, something else that I think wrestling has actually helped me with is, staying healthy because it maintains the body. I, you and I talked earlier. You mentioned something to me, and you said a lot of guys that you know around my age, and I'm not afraid to say how old I am. I'm 62 years old.
That was the question. Okay.
I have no problem saying that at all. And it's because I do feel like maybe I'm in good health right now, but that came from my dad when I first grew up. He was a gym rat. And so my dad would always expose me to the gym. And
I'm
after
sorry. What did you say? Goo rat or
Gurat,
what did you,
you there?
yeah, what did you say? Maybe I misheard the word. Was it gym rat?
Yeah, my dad was a gym rat. Yes. Yeah, he was a big gym rat. And so he got me exposed into the gyms. And when I started doing that, it was just a lifestyle I couldn't quit because it forces you to be strict about many things, including not just being in the gym, which is what we talked about earlier, but the diet. The diet is extremely important. I get asked all the time, what is it that really creates the body and the look that you get over time, even at 62 years of age? I got wrinkles and everything else, but I still try to maintain as best as I can. But it all comes really from the diet. A lot of people think you got to get in the gym and kill yourself. If you don't have the right diet, you can spend all day in that gym and it won't mean one damn thing.
Yeah, I feel as though, and by the way, hey, Real Juggalo, whoop whoop, how you doing? Hey, Vito, I see you in there. And yes, I always drink out of my Hello Kitty mug. It's interesting because I feel as though, especially in the USA, they're promoting these GLP inhibitors, okay? And I have to tell you something, like I got into a lot of trouble with the GLP inhibitor. I was on GLP for at least 6 months. I have a hard time gaining weight. So I'm 103 right now.
Now, you'd be the first woman I've ever heard that would complain about that weight.
Well, you have people, saying I'm fat, but someone said
hold it. Somebody actually thinks you look fat.
Thank you. Yeah, I know.
Look here. When I first saw you the other day, because we met for the very first time on Friday night for a JCW TV taping, and you looked absolutely incredible. And I was actually kind of taken back a little bit because I'm so used to seeing people online who maybe have a little airbrush or something going on. When you see you in person, is the same person I see in everything else. And that's a testament to your health and the diet that you do. And you're right. What we eat in our food nowadays, none of it's real. I mean, think about it. When I grew up as a kid, I remember when steaks, a good cut of a steak was actually a real steak. It wasn't, it didn't have all these hormones pumped into it, all the other additives that they put in there. It was just grass fed beef. And that's all it needs to be. And everything we eat to this point now, I can pick up certain things in the house. Not a single thing is actually 100% real.
Another thing you have to be careful of, and I'll get to your question in a second, Paul. I do see it. So I was at a farmer's market, and I just wanted to know, like, when you go to a farmer's market, we all assume that you're buying local and supporting local farmers, which is super important these days. I saw in the back of his truck this whole thing with Costco oranges, like just dumping them out there. It's like, bro, do you have no shame? And it's all about the healthy lifestyle. I will honestly sit here and say I regret taking a GLP just to drop 5 pounds. Then on top of that, having a thyroid issue with an overactive thyroid.
Yep.
So I haven't taken this stuff in a while. I will never take it, but I feel as though the country is going on a downfall with our health, with the whole GLP inhibitors and these. I don't recall ever having a gluten intolerance, and no disrespect to anyone that does, but growing up, you don't have these things. Like, what did we do? We did all kinds of things. Like, we're drinking wine at the age of 16, like red wines and stuff. But you have to be healthy. And I think a lot of that is with water. Now, I'm going to get to your wrestling career in a second, because this whole health thing, I think, benefits a lot of the guys in the chat and just watching. How do you maintain a healthy diet, and what is in that diet?
Well, it depends on what I'm staying ready. If I'm just staying TV ready, I don't hit it as hard as I normally do, because usually you get a little bit of advance notice to know, okay, I need to get in there and really start hitting things harder. But normally my days, I'll eat junk occasionally. I got a sweet tooth. I can't lie. At nighttime, I get very hungry and have to fight myself from eating too much. But really, it comes down to right here. A bottle of water, a lot of water. I drink a ton of water because it helps keep you flushed out, keeps you clean. And drinking all those sodas and everything else, which I love Dr. Pepper. But if you drink Dr. Pepper all day long, you're going to be 500 freaking pounds. You got to drink water, stuff that is healthy for you. And anybody who understands that aspect has to understand food is no different. It's got to be good for you, or you're going to have some kind of a side effect from it, period.
Well, I'm going to confess to everyone on here. I know Vito's going to like this. I had pizza last night with pepperoni and mushrooms. I don't feel like I put on any because half my day was spent taking care of my eye for the doctor. And I love my Faygo. I like my cotton candy Faygo. I love the grape Faygo as well, because I like grape juice and things like that. So that's my favorite flavor. Favorite flavor. Yes.
What was your favorite sweet that if there's one thing that you really crave that's sweet, what is it?
A Cadbury Easter egg.
Those are good. Oh,
I know. I like European chocolates too. I don't have American chocolates. And, if I have to go out of my way to go to a European store for chocolate or order it, I'll do that. It's important to, I like the chocolates. They're better. I was raised with, European foods and European dishes. So I'm not used to a lot of things. Even going to school, for the longest time, I just saw what they were serving. And I always had like a packed lunch. Sometimes my mom would pick me up, take me to lunch somewhere, but I just couldn't eat half of the stuff. But I think food in school cafeterias were way more healthy then. So I just saw this article on Gail Kim's husband. Do you know who Gail Kim is?
Yeah, I do. From TNA, or was at TNA.
Yep, love her. And her husband is a celebrity chef. So he just did this whole thing, like a meal preparation for vets, which I think is so great, because I can only imagine the crap they put in their bodies, and they have to be out there fighting on the front lines. What got you? Yeah, Robert Irvine. What brought you into pro wrestling?
I was working I was a fan first as a kid growing up. That was typical for me. I lived in the South. I lived in Savannah, Georgia, was my home. And so I was used to seeing the 605 wrestling, WCW, the NWA back in the old days. And the stories really got me hooked. But later on, when I got into radio, I was in radio for 30 plus years. I got to know a lot of people that were promoters. And so I'd end up backstage and talking to the guys, getting interviews and things like that. And that was as far as it went. At 38 years of age, I was doing a benefit for the fire department and I think it was the sheriff's department. And during the benefit, we had a little wrestling show. It was nothing special, trust me. But there was a promoter up there that came down and found me and said, "Hey, have you ever considered actually wrestling? Trying wrestling?" And I had, and I was at a point where I could actually give it a shot, and see how it went. That's really how I got into it. It was just luck, pure luck, just much like how I got into JCW, pure luck. I want to make sure I say this too, because this was something that blew me away when it came to wrestling with JCW.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting at the house. It's about 10 o'clock at night. And I knew that Vince Russo was working with JCW. I worked with Vince on another podcast for about 2 years.
Yes.
And when he called me at 10 o'clock at night and he says, "Mac, can you take a call from Violent J?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah," but I'm going to say no. I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And so Violent J called me up and he had seen a video package of my stuff. And he had watched a show that I had done just before he gave that phone call. And he said, "Mac, you're full of talent. I want to bring you in here. I want to give you a shot to do the things that I think you can do." And I can't tell you how much that meant to me, because in his group of wrestlers and the people in the back, I've always thought of this in wrestling. We're a bunch of misfits that people a lot of times don't understand. I understand that that's how they can think, but to get around those kind of people and give them opportunities, which Joe has done with person after person in that back, and then to call somebody 62 years of age and say, "Mac, would you like to come over into JCW?" That blew me away. It was something that I will never forget, in the fact that he was so honest when we had that conversation that I knew it wasn't going to be a no. It was like, because he wanted me to fly out. Actually, this was on a Friday night. He wanted me to fly out on Saturday morning and get up to where the show was, but it was too late because of the cost of the airlines were just so expensive from that point. So we waited until the next round of TV tapings. But Joe has really given me another breath of life, and I can't thank him enough.
He does that to a lot of people. Hey, City by the Bay, whoop whoop, what's up? Whoop whoop. You got to get into the Fago and everything. So Paul,
let me ask you something real quick, if you don't mind. Sure. When it comes to the Fago, now I saw this in Joe's refrigerator, and he has the different Fago flavors, and there are several of them. I had no clue. There was a pink one in there. Was that? I'm thinking that may have been cotton candy. Is there cotton candy?
Cotton candy is like blue. They have so many. Guys, help me out with the Fago colors. I know there's one. When I was at the house in December, because I hang out with his girlfriend a lot, we do like social things. And I was back at the house chilling out. They had some kind of exotic flavored Fago. I don't know what it was. Guys, if you guys could help me with the Fago colors. I know orange is orange, obviously, but this one
is bubblegum.
Bubblegum Fago. Did you like the bubblegum?
I didn't try it because when I looked at it, I was like, I don't know. I'm going to be straight up honest. I have not had my first cup or glass of Fago yet. Even this weekend, as much as we were there with Fago all over the place, I didn't have a spot of it. I was drinking water the whole time. So, it goes back to what we were talking about.
You got to do it on the rocks. And what Jay's girlfriend is notorious for is making drinks with Fago. So she had this whole little series of let's make a drink, and we were making cocktails with Fago. Some of them were pretty good. Some of them were a bit too strong and sweet for my liking. And, it doesn't mean that we were necessarily drinking the whole drink, but just enough to do the videos. Here we go. We got red pop, orange grape, bubblegum, cotton candy, root beer, cola, rock and rye. I like the rock and rye, red pop, bubblegum, and root beer. I love root beer. I love root beer floats.
I like grape, and you mentioned that a while ago. So the first thing I thought of was I love grape.
That's how they make Fago hot dogs, which you will eventually try. Speaking of, now we're on the health thing again. Now, then I'll get back to the Dusty Rhodes question. So you're from Georgia.
Yes.
And I'll get to your question too, City by the Bay, momentarily. So I heard that they have lithium springs there. And lithium, I know when we think of lithium, we think of people that are severely emotionally disturbed, like Nick Reiner, people like that. And you think it helps them, but it allegedly helps you live longer and repairs your cells. So is this a myth about lithium water? Because if anyone would know, it's you.
It's the first time I've heard that. To be honest with you, I'd be afraid to take anything that just wasn't 100% water. I'm honest. I don't like a lot of things going into my body unless they're supposed to be there. I don't want anything that I think. And the lithium, again, nothing against anybody who enjoys it or wants to use it for whatever purpose. I've just never heard of it before, and maybe it's just my age. Maybe I'm too damn old to remember this stuff. So.
It's one, like, I mean, I drink alkaline water. Here we go. Apple candy, apple fago sounds really yummy, by the way. I love that.
Yeah, it does.
What's your favorite drink? Aperol Spritz, of course. That's like the only thing, the only way to go. Now, somebody would like to know your thoughts on meeting Dusty Rhodes, or did you work with him?
I didn't work with Dusty. When I was in radio, I would do a lot of things where we'd give away merchandise from WCW or other things like that. And we'd get boxes of this stuff because I would call Dusty and say, look, yeah, I need some giveaways. And Dusty's like, don't worry, I'll put them in get them out to you. And he always would. It seemed like about once a month I'd get a package from Dusty saying, here's the stuff, give it away. And then when he'd come to town, he'd make sure we had tickets to give away and get a buy out of it too, because, it's business. But at the same time, he was always super nice about doing anything. We had a problem, as a matter of fact, in Georgia. There was a bill that they were trying to pass that would have killed independent wrestling in the state of Georgia, because the cost to run a show, you had to get a license and pay these fees, was thousands of dollars. And they didn't understand independent promoters don't make that kind of money. I mean, they work hard for what they can get. They're not making thousands they can just hand over before the show even starts. So I called Dusty and I said, Dusty, there's a problem going on over here. Can you help me with this? He gave me, we actually said, let me call you back. He called me back, and when he told me, he says, you're going to get a phone call. And it says, take the phone call, and they'll make sure everything gets fixed. It was Linda McMahon who actually called me, because he had her call to make sure that they got a letter in and had their attorney, I think his name was Jerry something, and he was going to be at the state capitol. So I met him at the state capitol. We went in and argued our piece about the bill. And that bill died. It never got passed. And that was because Dusty took the time to help somebody that he didn't have to help me by any stretch of the imagination, and got the big guns involved. And that was that. That was the end of that whole bill.
I wasn't sure what to expect with him, because when I ran my own promotion called 3PW, I brought Dusty in several times to work for me. Yeah. I brought in Terry Funk. I brought in Sabu. I brought in Jimmy Snuka. I brought in quite a few of the legends, Abdullah, and they were some of the easiest people to work with. Kevin Sullivan worked for me quite a bit as well, and I loved his work with Nancy Sullivan with the Fallen Angel. That was like my favorite gimmick that she ever did. Very realistic, and I don't think anyone to date has done that. I think if anyone were to do it to date, like that type of whole gimmick, it's got to be someone that's actually into the stuff.
Yes, I agree.
I had a discussion with Barnabas about this, because, you watch something like AEW. You have these little girls with their stupid, oh my God, I'm a witch. No, you're not a fucking witch, okay? You have nothing and no idea about darkness in your life, because you don't know that side of it. So I dare you to take a trip to a satanic church, because the main one in San Francisco is shut down, and actually like dive into that stuff, even though like Satanism versus witches, it's two separate things, but it's just the most retarded thing. Jerry McDevitt is Vince's former lawyer. I don't know how I went off on that tangent.
That was it.
We're just talking about gimmicks in wrestling. So,
but you're right about that. There's a lot of times in today's wrestling, there's a lot of gimmicks of people who don't understand the gimmick they're doing. They're just trying to perform like a cosplay kind of thing. It doesn't work. It's got to feel legit. And that's something I'm really big on. When you have, let's say, if you have a hardcore match, that hardcore match needs to look like a hardcore match. I don't want to see people going there and not laying stuff in, because if you don't lay it in, the fans will never believe what they're watching, and you've got to make them believe. But outside of the wrestling, the characters are the most important part. Like radio, you have country stations. They all play the same music. It doesn't matter what station you go to when it's country. They're all playing from the same playlist. The difference that creates radio listeners is having something in between the songs that draw people in. And in professional wrestling, that's the managers, the characters, the people who can bring the TV screen to life when it's not taking place in the ring. It can be in the ring with those guys, but more times than not, they're telling stories that make the wrestling more entertaining. Now, that's just my opinion. A lot of people may be very wrestling, heavy, and they want to see just the wrestling. I don't think that's where the true art of professional wrestling is. The true art or the characters that make people want to watch.
I believe in storytelling and having a payoff. And like, if you're not going to bring, if you're going to have like a loss of momentum with someone, you bring them back, but for something bigger and better than before that you wouldn't expect. It's so important nowadays with momentum. I just started booking shows, or as a consultant, I should say, for a company in Italy. And like, I've seen this stuff before. It's all really story driven. They're going to like twice a month instead of once a month.
Wow.
So I'll bring some people over there. I used to work for a company in Scotland before where I was booking the talent, and it was a lot of fun. Now, getting back to extreme wrestling. So in New Jersey and these licenses, they make it so difficult for people like promoters to run a deathmatch show. They categorize that under extreme wrestling. You have to have an ambulance there, like it's like $2,000, like the whole time. Yeah. Insurance, what is that, like another couple $100?
Probably about 5 to 1,000. Yeah.
Exactly. And then you have to have a doctor there. Everyone has to have some kind of a liability thing attached. Because whole thing, it comes out to about 5 to 10 grand a show, maybe even more. And if you don't have that, then you can get fined. So right now they're going through a lot of stuff. There is and some people on here know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to mention its name. But there is a promoter who's running shows there, but he called on a bunch of other promoters that he worked for, right?
Yep.
And it was part of a cooperation deal. But in the meantime, this guy extorted this woman in Scotland and another girl for sending nudes and all this other stuff. It's a gross way to be, but I hope the hammer comes down on him, because people like that are not good people. Dusty, on the other hand, is a good person.
And that goes back to what I was talking about. Joe is a promoter that you would want to work with. He understands the talent because he was a talent. And that's a big difference in a lot of promoters. A lot of promoters have never stepped foot in a ring other than to try to make themselves look all kinds of special when they really aren't. But the real good promoters are the ones who listen to their guys in the back and they do things together instead of apart. Does that make sense?
Oh, no, I know. I mean, when I worked for XPW, that was mostly Rob Black putting over his talentless, like, nobody girlfriend who wasn't even good enough to be like anything, but the shit below my boot. And that's what he used the promotion for. And for someone that's never wrestled in their life to have a TV title, that's tomfuckery.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad decisions in today's professional wrestling, unless the promoter is somebody who has been in that ring and understands what a wrestler goes through and what it means to be a character and portray things to the camera. They shouldn't be promoting. Period. They really shouldn't. So when you got somebody like Joe, and I keep going back to JCW, and I don't mean to do that and make it just repetitive, but Joe understands the business. So that's why I couldn't say no about going to work for him, because I knew he understood the business, and that gave me all kinds of hope that maybe there's something special here, and there is.
Yeah. And with Vince attached to it, there's something extremely special and a lot of the talent, for the most part. So it's, it's always a matter of where it goes. There's a very good handful of talent that they have there, I think. Thank you very much, City by the Bay. Yeah, we keep it real here. It's I've never really heard anything bad about the company. So it's
But before I got into JCW, I had, through what I heard from other people, you know what Juggalo wrestling is, and I would hear it during the years, and so you would get these images in your head like these guys must be nuts. I never paid it any attention. When I knew that Vince was going to be going to work for him, because we had talked about it before he even went, I started watching some of the shows. And to me, Vince had a great opportunity because Joe had already put together characters and stories that were extremely interesting. I mean, the characters in JCW, unlike other promotions, some of them may be a little bit out there. For me, when I first heard from Vince, oh, we have zombies. I'm like,
Yeah,
what? You know,
there it was.
and they are tremendous the way they and because they understand the character. I was even
Mhm.
talking to them the other day. They don't listen much. I mean, they kind of walk around looking crazy, but I did tell them that I like the way that they even fall into the ropes when they enter the ring, stuff that you wouldn't think of, but it just looks so lazy as they roll over the ropes. They
Mhm.
understand the character, and there are so many characters in JCW that are that way.
Yeah, I mean, there really are. I think, okay, so if I ever had like my dream character, I mean, obviously it would be myself, but it would be the realistic version of what Nancy Sullivan would have been in Dark as the Fallen Angel, without the bikini and all that shit and all the makeup.
Damn. Let me ask you, would that be something that you would like to do though? Is that really something that because I would believe, I would have to think you could pull that off extremely easy.
Well, I have a lot of ties to the Satanic Church because of my friendship with Stanton LaVey many years ago.
Yep.
And just being around black metal and stuff like that in Norway. And just, you know, you intertwine with different communities of people. It doesn't mean that
Yep.
we're cutting like people's necks and drinking their blood or like, you know, cutting, you know, sacrificing animals. Cause I would
Yeah.
honestly like, I would have bit my cat's head off this morning. No, if I knew I was going to end up, I wouldn't do that.
Get that out.
It's not what people think it is. And, you know, when I had these conversations with Barnabas about the occult, because I used to read tarot cards and dabble with black magic. And then when I saw AEW, what these girls were doing, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Seriously? Like, do you, like, at that point, it's like, can I have some of your hair? Can I have one
Yeah.
of your belongings to put you through hell and show you what you should be doing? But anyway, that's just me getting worked up. It's probably all the super massive.
I said that this weekend. We were talking to, well, most of us were a little bit older, and I kept saying, how many times do you watch somebody on TV now and think to yourself, how do they have a job? I know other people who are 10 times better than what this individual is on TV, and they're sitting at home. It makes zero sense. It's all politics.
Truly is. You know, I would say my favorite wrestler at AEW is Toni Storm. I love her gimmick,
I
and
do
she's
too.
also a really pleasant person. I've met her many times at the conventions. Are you doing conventions, or what are we doing exactly with JCW? Like, I want you to explain to everyone what your role is there, so they could look forward to seeing you.
Well, if Jay is listening, he'll laugh when I say this, but I'm the Swiss Army knife in JCW. Where do you need somebody? Fill me in. I'll go fill in if you need it. But over the weekend, it started actually the day after you had left. I started doing interviews in the back for the shows. And so, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And oh, by the way, you got out just in time because it snowed the next 2 days constantly. It was a lot of snow, and I'm from the South. I'm not used to that damn cold.
No, I'm heading into the snow in a few days, but yeah. So you're doing. I saw a photo of you doing the backstage interviews, and I think you're very good at that. I saw a photo of you with Jay.
Oh yeah. That was that's going to be on the first post show for JCW, and he'll be starting off the Behind the Lunacy part of the program that we'll be doing. And he talks about JCW lunacy and the years that he's had it. Vince being there, maybe having issues with some people that he didn't expect to have problems with. Is a very honest interview, and that'll be coming up on our very first JCW lunacy post show.
Well, I hope Vince doesn't have a problem with me. But
I can't imagine anybody would have a problem with you.
you'd be surprised. You didn't see my Twitter today. Here we go.
Uh-oh.
Mr. T94. Oh, the House of Black and AEW. Yeah, it sucked. It fucking sucked ass. It sucked dog balls, for fuck's sake.
Yes.
Yeah, it was the whole thing with, I think it was Julia Hart. And that's the thing. I don't feel as though managers really do their job today. And, you know, you're supposed to get the guys over that you're with or enhance the act, you know?
Don't outshine them.
Yeah, well, you're not supposed to, or not even, or just stand there looking dumb because they don't get psychology, you know?
Yep.
Now, with wrestling, where did you expect to go with wrestling? Did you expect it to go anywhere at all, or
I didn't
just?
expect to make it into any of the big names because at 30, I mean, like I said, I started at 38. So realistically, I understood, the likelihood of me ever going to a big company was, non-existent because I was too old. But I made a decision that I wanted to be the best I could on the indie level in the Southeast, region,
Mhm.
because I knew because I had a full time job too. Now, this is not like I was doing wrestling. I had a full
Oh,
time job as well in radio. So I'm doing both. And so I just gave it everything I had. I wanted to be the best that I could be. I wanted to live those things that in my mind, creatively, I had always thought about and I wanted to do. And a lot of it came from the old days of the NWA. And I would
hmm.
do storylines and things within and nobody even understood that's what I was doing. But at the end of the match, it's like, do you recognize that match at all? And they would, because they see certain elements that make them, wait a minute, that was the match like Tully and Magnum TA had, where they brought out, the chair, it got broken, he stabs him, goes after him, tries to get him, did the same thing. But it's all new to people who have never seen it before. And so I did those type of things. I was involved in dog collar matches, steel cage matches. I was in very physical matches. Which is why, after about 10 years, I had to quit because I broke my neck over time.
Yeah, that's a scary injury. And real quick, everyone tuning in and everyone that does subscribe to the page, make sure you keep watching the restreams of these because I've had some great guests on, and I will be bringing on many more. Not Jim Cornette by any chance. Someone says bring back J.J. Dillon or Gary Hart, even Bobby Heenan style as a manager. Great match between Tully and Magnum. Yeah, I guess. Oh, by the way, do you guys know this? Like, Jim Cornette blocked me. So we all had this ongoing joke about the name Corny. I didn't know that was
Yep.
his nickname. And someone did an AI of him in a Trump bikini because I challenged him to a strip off in a bikini, and he blocked me all of a
And
sudden.
he blocked you because of that.
He blocked me because of I thought it was funny personally. I don't know what is possibly wrong with that. I mean, it's
You never know when it comes to Cornette. Yeah, one day he can laugh about it, and the second day he get all hyped and pissed off about it. But but Corny is as much as a lot of people don't like him. I will say this: I think that there are certain people in the wrestling business, like Eric Bischoff, Jim Cornette, both which hate each other.
yeah.
Uh, you know, when you get it, Vince Russo is another one of those guys where people attack him. The truth is, they're all three of those guys I just named are very intelligent. They understand the business. Their attitudes and reactions may be way off in a lot of ways, but they are smart to the business in whatever way that they may be. I've never found that I disagreed a ton with Eric Bischoff when he goes into the business of professional wrestling. I don't find myself disagreeing with Vince Russo when he talks about the creative of business. Used to drive me crazy on our show. I would have people ask me after we got off the air, people I knew in the business, how are you working with Vince Russo? Like it was some deadly thing that I was doing. And I'm like, I judge people based on how they are with me. And I spent 2 years with Vince doing that podcast, and not one time did he and I have an argument. Did I disagree with what he said? And when you listen to what he says, he's actually right. He understands what it means to draw an audience in. You've got to give them something more than just the wrestling, which goes back to what we talked about like in radio. You can't just be all wrestling because the majority of fans, just the casual viewer wants to see stories,
Hmm.
not just the wrestling. They want to see stories and characters. Vince understands that. But yet everybody says, oh, he killed WCW. He killed WWE. No, he did. No, he didn't. You just don't understand it, or you don't listen to what he says. I'm not just saying that because Vince and I are friends. I believe that. And he knows I like Eric Bischoff as well. And I'll tell Eric the same thing. He may not like the fact that I will talk with Vince, or Vince may not like that I talk with Eric, and I don't talk to Eric that much. I've just seen him several times, but he's always been very nice. And he's usually correct about what he says when you stop and just listen to what he says.
Yeah, it's interesting because a few years ago, I was a speaker at a podcast convention. And just so everyone knows, I have a fear of, I have like stage fright, but yet I
That's
was in
good.
an improv theater for many years, and I had a lot of training at Second City. I had my own one woman show, which we're bringing back on the road now. I'd love to see Big Al Ringrat on the podcast. Yeah, maybe one of these days, you know,
I do see PTs. Yeah, let me jump on one here. I saw somebody saying, Mac, do you think?
Yep, I'm going there right now.
Okay.
So I already know what the answer is going to be.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh, yeah. I could tell you what the answer is, but I know you're going to say the same thing I am. Mac, who do you think can potentially be the number 3 company behind WWE and AEW? Why are we putting AEW in the top 3?
We shouldn't be, because I'll give it to you a little bit different. It's WWE simply because of the juggernaut that they are. And then who's second? Could it be TNA? Is it AEW? Between those two, I don't really know. And when it comes to a number 3 company, when you stop and look at and this is probably what you were saying a minute ago, when you stop and look at JCW and the growth that it's had in just under 2 years, it's incredible to see that. People love to see this program, and they're catching on and watching it every single week on YouTube simply because it's what they've been just aching for years now. Wrestling that's fun to watch. The other thing about JCW, and the reason why I think it can be the number 3 company, not just the talent and the creative that's in the back, but showing the show at 7:00, I think is extremely smart, because it allows people like myself to actually enjoy the entire program and not feel like I'm up at 11:00 at night watching some half-ass show like I see from WWE. Anybody who spends 3 hours watching SmackDown, the only reason I did it, and the only reason why Vince Russo did that for the years that we did the podcast, we got paid for it. That's the only reason we watch those shows. You're not going to catch me watch an entire WWE event again. You just won't. But I found myself watching JCW from the start of the show till the end of the show when the cliffhanger would come. That is how you do wrestling. And I love to see that, because I think that fans have seen something different. And so I fully believe, keep watching, JCW is going to be a real. They've already put out NWA. I don't mean that to be mean to people in the NWA, but when it comes to interest, after the first season or so of NWA, we fell into COVID, and their program just never was the same again. JCW has passed that already. When you talk to people now, they understand what JCW is doing and some of the characters and the stories. If you ask somebody about the NWA,
here, hi, Ringside News. Hey, Steven, how are you? JCW is a good spot. Can watch JCW and then TNA. And guys, to answer your question, yes, I did have Al booked once before for this, and she couldn't make it at the last minute. So I will try to reschedule her at one point, because I personally like Al. I think she's done a lot of stuff.
About Big Al, is that who you're talking about?
Big Al. But NWA, okay, so I have friends that work there, and I like what they have going on. I've met Billy Corgan many times, and he's extremely one of the nicest people you could meet. Obviously, nobody's as cool as Jay, but I would definitely take bookings there. I think Ryan Idol is one of the best wrestlers, and he's got a great look all around. Like, that is what wrestlers should look like. They should not look like they got off their shift at Starbucks.
And let me say, too, what I was saying about NWA, let me say this, too. I'm not talking about the wrestlers being not that good like they were back in the early days of NWA. NWA hit a brick wall all because of the COVID situation. That was unfortunate, because they were on fire. When they were on YouTube, they were on fire. And then COVID came and everything came to a screeching halt. And I just don't feel like they ever got their footing again after that.
A lot of things came to a screeching halt with COVID, including people's brain cells. So if someone is asking, what do you think they'll do with Vito? Well, Vito's always going to be there, because he's just one of those things. So I don't know.
Vito and I had a few words this weekend.
Yeah, did you? Did you tell him off?
No, I bit my tongue, but you'll have to keep watching JCW. But yeah, he wasn't happy about somebody I had interviewed.
Yeah, well, whatever. He's doing his.
He can be an ass.
So that's true. 2018-19 NWA scene was great. I think TNA has a lot of really good stuff going on. Like, I like watching their show. I worked there way in the beginning when they had what was it, the pay-per-views, and it was Jeff Jarrett running the show. Yes. Thank you very much. We have great chemistry.
You actually, somebody has said that you had great chemistry with Vito. I saw that a minute ago by City by the Bay.
Yeah,
But
that's
I've got to say that when I first started watching, I thought the stuff with you and Vito was great.
thanks.
Just the initial, the limousine pulling in and all that took place. Good stuff. And that's again the reason why I fell in love with JCW. The stories like that drew my attention.
Yeah, we should have gone joyriding with the limo and like taken off for the day. Um,
Yep. And you know, Vince and I have talked about that too. One of the
joyride
things, no, but to do more things that are outside, if you can shoot just from outside the building and not just inside,
because
and
it's
because he was
freezing.
great with that. Say that again.
It's freezing. You can't do, you know how cold it was when we did the first day of the limousine shooting in Utah? I was freezing my butt off. It was like 30 degrees and
Oh,
windy. And then it was freezing cold. I'm standing out there in a dress and stockings. And I'm like, okay, I just want to do this. And I just, I mean, it was too cold. I was happy when we were inside of the building. I'm
yeah.
happy when we're inside
But the
anyway.
shots outside though, when you can get shots of the city that you're in, as a matter of fact, coming up in a future JCW episode, I will say that somebody got arrested. And there's footage of that from outside that is really cool to see. There's shots like that, and the shots of you in the limo, shots with Violent J and Vito outside. I can't remember where they were, but there was a trailer or something, and he took your cane, as a matter of fact, and went outside and beat Vito with your
I
cane.
remember that one. Yeah. Yeah,
And those shots just make the show look bigger.
yeah.
And that's how the Attitude Era worked. If you remember, a lot of the things in the Attitude Era, they were outside, even in the freezing cold, in the snow, throwing the belts out into the bay and stuff like that. It's amazing to see those type of things, because if you're in a special city, if you can take a little landmark of that city and make it a part of the show, I think fans will really feel like they're traveling with you and not just seeing the inside of the building, but they're with you as a traveling fan.
Yeah, that's super important. I mean, it's nice to have people of different like backgrounds at JCW,
Yeah.
and you being, of course, not an insult. You know, you're saying you're older. I don't believe you're as old as you say. I think you're just saying that.
I wish you were
I
right.
mean, it's nice. And then it's the perfect role because I don't think you're actually going to get in there and wrestle, you know. And let me ask you about your neck injury. Like, how long did that take to recover from? Because so many people get these crazy injuries and they either come out of it completely healthy, which you obviously did, or it's a full 360 really bad.
Boy, there's a lot to that. I had, over the period of my wrestling, I had taken a lot of, like I said, I was in a lot of matches that were a little bit rougher than your typical match. You know, you get the dog collars, the chains, the fence and the steel cage match, and, you know, doing the hurricanranas from the top of the cage down to the ring, that kind of stuff. After a while, it just takes a toll on your body. And without me really realizing it, I was starting to have some neck pain. I kept thinking, why is my neck hurting so bad? And I just thought, well, maybe I'm getting older and it's just taking a little longer to get that ache out of there. And I finally realized my dad had gotten Alzheimer's. So I took care of him for 5 years and put off my surgery because I found out I needed to have surgery on my neck. But I couldn't do that and take care of my dad. So I had to wait. And during that time, I would drive in my truck. At the time I was driving a truck, I would have to hold my head back against the headrest while I drove because I couldn't hold it up straight because the pain of holding my neck up was intense. And then I got it fixed. And that's what brought me back into wrestling for one more shot. And again, it goes back to creativity. I didn't get to leave wrestling the way I wanted to. So over those 10 years, you got to figure, how would I have liked to end this, story? Well, I had the guy that broke my neck, in my last match before I left. And so I wanted to come back and meet him in the steel cage one more time for one last match. And that match, honestly, was a way for me to say goodbye to, to my dad. Excuse me. And that was because at one time I was sitting down with him, and with people with Alzheimer's, they tend to lose their concentration, and you have to kind of pull them back in as best you can.
Mm-hmm.
And once in a while, they'd have that clear moment where you felt like you were talking to that person. They were there in that moment. They know who you are and what they're saying. And he reached over to me at one time and tapped me on the hand and said, "You need to go back to wrestling. You need to go back." And so that's why I did it. So at the end of the match, I fall into the corner and I'm exhausted, mainly because I was actually really tired. But I fell into that corner and that was a way for me to say goodbye to my dad.
I think like Mr. T94. Sorry to hear about that about your dad. It's very sad about your dad, but I think it's very sweet. And I heard that lithium helps with dementia and early stages of Alzheimer's. I'm just saying, I'm not a doctor by any chance, guys, but I am just saying this is what I've heard and read. Whether or not it's true, I don't know. I believe in HGH. I took HGH for a while to help myself to get.
I think anything. Huh? Yeah, I think that anything that you take that makes you feel better. Mm-hmm. And can keep you healthy at the same time. You don't want to abuse anything, obviously, but if you take things correctly, they can be very beneficial for a lot of people out there. But just make sure you do your research before you start taking it. I heard a lot about these peptides and everything, and everybody wants to know, well, you have to try the peptides. At 62 years of age, I'm afraid to try anything anymore. So
they're good. Like I ran an IV infusion company during COVID, so I learned a lot about peptides. I take the copper, the GHKCU for my skin and my hair. I take the NAD, obviously, and I get those drips like once or twice a month. I'm really scared of needles. Do you think JCW will do any shows in Ohio? I don't know. Someone said the F word is Vito's crutch. It's a little much, yeah. But people can't. People are not that articulate or they're not that educated. You can't expect them to have very many words in their vocabulary. Village Heat. So that's my reply to Vito's F-bombs all the time.
He's always got something up his ass. I don't know what's wrong with him. He's always got a bad attitude.
It's too much CTE going on up there. What was it like working with Dutch Mantel? Because I've been dying to get him on my other podcasts.
Dutch was he was someone that I did one show with him, just he and I at one time. But then Vince and I for our SmackDown show, he came aboard for a period of time. There's a couple of months where he was popping in and out with us. Dutch is so funny in the stories. Again, he's old school, but the stories from the early days and the things that take place, the history. Not only that, again, he's very intelligent. He understands how to make stories work and how to make people react. And Dutch was always fun. Vince was the same way. He loved when Dutch would pop on because we would just laugh our ass off the whole time.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I messaged him once because I've been looking at his social media. I have a political podcast as well, and that's the one I wanted to bring him on because I think we'd have a great conversation on there. I remember having Val Venus on, and it was like almost 2 hours. I want to get Val Venus on a live, but the thing is, you have to for Val Venus, you would expect maybe a half hour to like an hour of a conversation, but he goes on, and like the stuff he was saying just looped me in. With these parking tickets and all these things. So no disrespect, but Vito from WCW, WWE, I thought he died. No, not yet. It was almost a perfect day, but not yet.
Yeah, he had to go into witness protection, wear a dress.
Witless protection. The witless protection part. Yeah. So what do you do right now as far as online podcasting and hosting? Because do you still have your do you still have that you're doing?
I do. I do Road Trip After Hours. That's with Teddy Long. We do that.
Great. I love Teddy Long stuff. Uh-huh.
Yeah, Teddy is hilarious. Teddy is one of those guys. When I first started getting into podcasting, during the COVID time, I was toying with a lot of different projects, and then podcasting became one of them. And Teddy and I were working some shows. We were working together, building a show in Georgia, and he had heard me talking about a podcast, and he's like, I'll do that with you. And I was like, Teddy, I don't, this is just something I'm throwing around. There's no money involved in anything. We just, if I did this, it's just going to see what happens. And he said, I don't give a shit. Let's do it. He says, you and I have great conversations. Let's just see what happens when we put it on the podcast. And so now we're, I don't even know how many shows, 200 plus shows, maybe or more. I don't even know. Again, at my age, I don't understand a lot of the stuff that is social media anymore, the algorithms and how to use the thumbnail correctly. I don't know. Just let me turn on the microphone and talk. I'll be happy. That's all I need to do. And we've been able to catch on because of that.
Yeah, Vince gets it. Like, I feel as if Vince could just sit there, like flipping on in between, blah, 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 between his things back and forth, and just sit there and do like 5 different podcasts. Someone just said, I'm literally watching this over, Raw. Thank you. At least we're authentic.
Yes.
That's what. So me and Barnabas are doing an occult podcast together. It's just going to be like 4 episodes, and we'll see where it goes from there. So we've like divided all these things. And then speaking of, people with JCW, I feel as though they're more creative, a lot of them. And when I met him originally, like, those are my people. And those zombies should have been on Walking Dead. Like, they're better zombies than the zombies they hired on this show.
True. And it goes back to the character, like we were saying earlier. They understand their character, so it seems very real when you see them. I guess I never would have thought zombies would work in professional wrestling. But when you watch these guys do their gimmick, you believe what you're watching, and you are thoroughly entertained. I told them that all this weekend. I said, guys, I love your gimmick. And they're like, shaking their heads, kind of looking crazy. But yeah.
It takes them like such a long time to get ready. I'm always hoping that one day there'll be like a monster zombie feud, which would be really fun. That would be cool.
Speaking of, see, I got to quit trying to be a podcast host. I just wanted to ask you though, real quick.
Yeah.
When it comes to the monsters, how did that come about for you?
You know what? It's someone said that I should be the zombie managers. Yeah. It was Jay's idea.
Of course it was.
And I've never managed a faction with much bigger. Well, no, I think I've always managed factions in wrestling, except for like when I was in ECW. Yeah, the first group of people I managed was in XPW. That was a faction called the Hierarchy. It was Jake Lawless, Nicole Bass, and Damian Steele. It was very weird. Ida Mega Maga faction as well. That went over real big. I did a lot of those, but I think you could put me with anyone.
Oh, well, yeah.
I understood what it was after the second show. I got it. Like, we got it. But that third door, that third monster is always a revolving door. So I'm good if it's just the 2 of us. Like, if it's just the 3 of us in it instead of 4, I'll be honest with you, because it's always the third monster is always, one's always in Japan. And I'm so happy for him that he's in Japan wrestling. That's such a big deal. And I'm sure he's like the tallest person in Japan. And I know Beastman has a lot of obligations with GCW and all these other things. So
I love the Mr. Happy.
I like the 2 of them a lot. He pisses me off sometimes when he gets like too happy and he starts speaking to people and everything. Like, what are you doing? And no, I'm serious. It's like, you can't, like, you're not here to fuck around. You need to go beat someone's ass. But I think if there's any other faction or any other thing I would like to do in wrestling, like 2 things. First of all, to retire my way out, I wanted to be the last pile driver off the top rope I take, and the only person I would let do that to me is Rhino. The only other thing I would like in wrestling is a satanic faction, or just someone, who'd actually be really good. Someone that knows how to like paint their face up like a black metal musician that's into all that shit too. And that would be the gimmick.
That would be cool. I'm just thinking about the gimmick. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't have to do much. I mean, my hair is long and dark. Some Jazz, do you see anyone being added to your faction? Yeah, Mike Lindell. Speaking of Raw, tonight's episode, AJ Styles tribute show. Do you have any thoughts or interactions with AJ? Yeah, he worked for me at 3PW Wrestling, and he was completely nice and very respectful to work with. He was.
I don't think I've ever heard anything different when it came to AJ Styles. He's always been considered one of the nice guys in the back.
Tom Cruise here now. Hey, Steve Roberts, whoop whoop. He looks like Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Well, that's not a bad thing for a lot of people.
So when is your podcast on, by the way?
Let's see. The podcast with Teddy is live on Wednesday nights, 7:00 Eastern time. And it's just a lot of fun. It's one of those shows. It's absolutely free. There are no super stickers and you got to buy this and buy that to talk to us. We want to talk to the fans, just like you're doing here. Let's talk to the fans. Don't charge them money. That makes no sense. Let them be a part of the program.
It's nice when they tip because, my God, I mean, pet
now that's different.
Are a lot of money. It's like close to $500 for my cat to have like a pet passport. And then, so for those of you just joining the stream, I had an accident this morning with my cat. He slept right on my pillow on the right side of my face, which is fine. But I like leaned my face into him on this side, and I was swollen here and here and itchy. And I'm not allergic to cats, but I had a cat hair in my eye. So I got the weirdest looks at my ophthalmologist. I don't know if I'll be going back there anytime soon. Dude, I'm not into bestiality. Dude, I saw this woman like literally French kissing her fucking dog. Like,
Oh God.
what is wrong with you, bitch?
Jesus.
Not the dog. I mean the woman. What is wrong with you?
I've seen a video years ago when it came to a German Shepherd and a woman, and I thought, that's just one of the grossest things I had ever seen in my life. Actually, you mentioned something to me. I was talking with somebody, and you said I gave a look in a video. Do you remember what that was?
You gave a look in a video because of what someone said to you once in a video about something really gross, and you gave this look, like the look I probably gave that woman who was French kissing her fucking dog.
Yeah.
I mean, don't French kiss your freaking animals, people. It's not what they're there for. Buy a blow up doll. Get an AI date.
Yeah, I was trying to think what that was. I think I just remembered what it was.
Grant. Just make sure she doesn't break the NDA. Maybe that's. I know.
Look here, I love the fact that you're very honest when it comes to the Janelle Grant and Vince McMahon's story about, well, she took this and she took that. As a guy, it is so nice to hear a woman say that, because for me, it was like, I don't understand. She signed an NDA, so what's the damn issue?
Yeah, no, go ahead. I have the facts on here. I'm just listening to you, but I'm just going to bring this up. Go ahead.
Yeah, and she got all this different stuff on a regular basis. She never seemed to complain about it. She still was wearing it or doing things that, all paid for. So if she was so upset about everything, why is she still accepting all of these gifts?
Okay, well, here's the thing. I was speaking with Shelly Martinez earlier about this. She's another one coming in on my side with this, okay? First and foremost, when he pooped on her head, here's what and I know we shouldn't be speaking disgusting things, but I'm just going to say this. Here's what I think happened. I think she was sticking something up his bum, and she pulled it out, and I guess her face might have been down there, but I hope to God she wasn't wearing that lariat necklace, because lariat necklaces are really cool and they're very pretty. Was she wearing her cashmere scarf? Was she wearing that retarded fucking like hat or whatever? She should not be wearing hats. Let's first get that straight. And okay, $20,000 in surgery. What surgery? What surgery was that? Was that like a therapist or something? So some guy wrote to me on Twitter, if you think this is okay, you need help. Okay, fine. Go refer me to a therapist then, please. He wouldn't refer me to a therapist. I mean, but look, okay. So my friend is the one that unleashed the Epstein files. All those files you saw years ago in TMZ, that was me as a middle person that sold it. I still have the flight logs. I still have all those messages on the phone pad from like David Copperfield, Sarah Ferguson, Lee Wexler. So those girls that were underage, those are victims. Those are people that had no voice. Those are girls that, if this girl wants to talk about victimology 101, why doesn't she talk about this in front of Virginia Jeffrey? That's right. Virginia is dead mysteriously. And I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist. I know I've like gone into this whole other thing, but okay, yeah. Vince did some kind of weird shit. Okay, great. He's a kinky little bitch. You signed an NDA. He didn't want to pay on anything, but you still have that 1 degree of silence on there. Steven, just tune in on this really quick, Steven, with the part about the NDA that was broken. She was supposed to go directly to arbitration, not go out there and speak about it publicly. Yep. Her going out there with the glasses, and I'm not saying I condone a rapist or anything, because were there criminal charges ever filed? This happened to James Franco too. No criminal charges were ever filed against him, ever. Yep. And I took classes from him before. Nothing was inappropriate about him. A lot of people took his acting classes. So at the end of the day, this girl stood up there with those glasses. She looked like Jodi Ann Arias, that woman that starved that poor boyfriend of hers to death, who was a psycho. That's what she looked like. I mean, what meds is she on?
She's just not in real life. That's the problem. She's waiting for somebody to keep handing her money. And because the money train stopped, that's when she decided, to decide to come out and go, hey, she wants more.
Yeah, and here's one thing, like, I had a satanic Bible when I was like 9 or 10 years old. But you know what I will say is that one thing is one of the rules of Satanism is that you make your choices and decisions in life and you have to live with them.
Yep.
Right? And the only person responsible for the outcomes of these things is you.
True.
She could have gone and drove an Uber. She could have been a delivery person. I'm just giving you different situations, because nobody has to dilute themselves to that and take that for 3 years. But to say you're a victim is really silencing
the real victims.
Thank you. And diminishing their stories when you have this girl. So I'd like her to speak again publicly in like a few weeks when I'm back. And I'd like to go there. Just make sure someone has money for a long vacation. You're ready to go to motherfucking jail tonight.
Hey, you're getting to take a little vacation or something, aren't you, soon?
Yeah. And then I have to deal with some of that stuff with that Italian promotion as well. Now I go to Iceland and like I just kind of bum around Europe. I just have to go back home for a bit. But with this whole thing with Janelle Grant, Shelly Martinez was the other person. So she and I are probably going to stream on Wednesday on her platform. And, it's not about being canceled. It's just, we're not defending a rapist.
No.
People should be glad you have women's voices in this, because now this is setting a precedent for women to break NDAs with men, which fits doing business with women back by 1,000 years. It shows you can't do business with them, right? Number two, a lot of people have broken NDAs. Let's not do that. Let's hold up our end of the bargains. Number three, women who accuse men of rape and they have to go to jail for it, they should be held accountable and go to jail for that.
Yeah. How many times have you heard the stories where somebody was in prison, spent years in prison, and then all of a sudden the person who claimed that they were assaulted now says, okay, I wasn't telling the truth. So now you've got a guy who's been in prison for 8, 10 years, whatever, and he's getting out and his whole life was just thrown to the shitter because somebody could not tell the truth.
Yeah. All she had to do was close her fucking legs and like get her clothes on, clean the poop off her head and walk home and just say no and never go back.
Now, on the other side of the coin, I will say this: there was the part where Vince quit paying on that NDA. Now, that was a dumb move too.
She was talking supposedly. I'm trying to see where Steven is because he was telling me this earlier. Apparently, she was speaking to people before any of that. And that's the problem. There's a lot to this, but she wasn't supposed to speak about it in public, and she spoke to someone that was a journalist. Then that's where that busted that part of the NDA. But regardless, anyone that's saying I'm broken and crazy, yeah, I'm crazy, but I'm not fucking broken. I just have common sense, Yeah,
and that's what gets you through life is pure common sense. And most people do not activate that common sense part of their brain.
Ringside News: he quit paying because the story was leaked.
Well, then I don't blame him. Once she broke that NDA by doing that, I wouldn't have paid another penny either. And I'm not, again, we're not saying that you let a rapist get away with anything. I'm just looking at the business aspect of the agreement. And if the business aspect of the agreement that was signed should simply be, he keeps paying her, she keeps her mouth shut. That's the agreement. Now, if you don't like that agreement, don't sign the damn NDA.
Yeah, there we go. It's right there. So Brad Shepard is the person that he knows, leaked her name, and then Vince stopped paying. Okay, right. So, anywho, I'm going to hop off of her soon because it's going to be time for me to eat. I still have to pack. I go to Iceland, and then I'm going over to Italy for a few days. So,
when do I get to see you again in JCW?
What?
When are you coming back into the JCW? What's your next?
Next tapings? I don't know.
Cool.
Let's see, Blackmail 101 to steal the business. Yes. And same thing with the thoughts on Kurt Cobain. So do you mind throwing out your socials really quick? Because I'm sure people want to speak to you and follow you because you have magnificent things to say.
Thank you very much. Yeah, all you have to do is stop by on YouTube. It's Road Trip After Hours. That's where you'll find us on YouTube, myself and Teddy. Then you can find me under Mad Mac Davis on Facebook and on Twitter. Not Twitter anymore, is X, whatever the hell they want to call it.
I prefer Twitter.
How many people still say Twitter? I bet everybody, because it's easier just to say Twitter than it is X, But so you can find me in those places, just anywhere you'll find Mac Davis or Mad Mac Davis, either one of those two, you'll find me.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining us tonight, and everyone, stay frosty, stay well, and We'll see you Thursday night on JCW.
Thank you.
Thank you.